Glad to have you back now. So let's bring in a gentleman, of course, Dr. Emeka. First is Dr. Emeka Okengu. He's a development economist. He joins us via a Zoom call from Abuja now. And in Lagos here, we have Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed. He's CEO of Finance with Mukhtar. He joins us here in Lagos to look at these issues together, looking at Nigeria's journey to democracy and, of course, the quest to fixing the economy. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Happy democracy to you.
Thank you. Happy democracy to you too. Happy democracy, Nigeria.
Yeah. And beg your pardon, Mr. Mukhtar, happy democracy to you.
Same here. Happy democracy to you too.
Okay. Let me start from you in Abuja, Dr. Okengu. Give us your assessment of Nigeria's democratic journey 23 years after. We're still talking about or concerned about how to fix Nigeria's economic challenges.
Okay, great. First and foremost, it's a march to democracy through civil rule. What we have now is civil rule, if you ask me. But we are onto that onward march into democracy. It's been 23 years of highs and lows. It's been 23 years of tears and joy. Any developmental process has been slow in some places, it's been accelerated in some areas, it's been tortuous in some. So it's a mixed tale. It is a mixed bag for us. But I think what is for everybody to hold on to is optimism. Okay, but the greatest takeout for me would be that we've had an unbroken, 3 sessions or 3 regimes of civilian administrations, and then we're marching on to the 4th one. So it's a good one for me. It's a good one, and it's us marching towards where we should be. We haven't gotten there. We're very miles and miles away from it, but I think it's work in progress. As for the economic challenges we have, I mean, the answer is in the question. They are numerous, but again, it is just not traditional to Nigeria. You can also tie this to the global economic meltdown. You can also tie this to the global COVID-19 pandemic. So it's not only us that are also faced with these economic challenges. What may be peculiar to us as a country, might be the perennial state of insecurity, as it were, and then insurrections and insurgencies. That might be something you might say is a little, especially the kind we have in Nigeria.
Well, Mr. Mukhtar, let me come to you now. I don't know if you heard what Dr. Emeka Okengu said earlier, but do you agree with his position? And what's your take on Nigeria's democratic journey? It's been 23 years of uninterrupted democratic reign, if you may put it that way.
Thank you. 23 years of the life of a man is still a very young man. So, and also that means he has gone through the tweeting period. He has gone through being a teenager. He's not getting into adulthood. So there are a lot of challenges, and he needs doesn't have the experience that a 30 or 35 years old man will have. So when you look at that with what he said, I think I seriously agreed with him that we are still in the process. We are still very, very, very young. A child at 23 in this part of the world still has a lot to learn. And even in a developed world, you still depend on your father and maybe people for advice. So I think when you look at that, you say 23 years is still a very short year. In terms of our democracy journey. And so that means we shouldn't feel. I like what he said. He said we should have a lot of optimism going forward, and I think that is where I stand also. But when you look at the economy itself in 23 years, you could see there's been ups and downs. Like he said, during these 23 years of this democratic rule, we have seen the economy go into recession. We have seen the economy come out of recession. We have seen meltdown. We have seen a global pandemic. We are seeing a global recession. And for a child of 23 years to have seen all that and still standing, you need to give that child a lot of commendation. And for me, I think that's what I think. When you look at our GDP, yes, the first time President Obasanjo, we have a GDP of 6.95. We moved on to President Umar Musa Yar'Adua. we had a GDP of 7 point, we had a GDP of 7.98. Then we moved to President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, who had a GDP of 4.8%. And then we move on to President Muhammadu Buhari. We have a GDP of 0.08%. So you could see that it has been a slow journey in terms of 0.81%. It has been a very slow journey. If you look at it, that's what we talk about. You could see we started well, and once some of the economic development you've seen infrastructure coming. We've seen these 23 years, we've seen the advert of GSM and telecom sector moving the economy, added to the GDP. We've also seen a lot of jobs have been created.
Right.
So we must commend ourselves that we've done reasonable, very fair especially in the first 3 administration. But when you look at the present administration economically, I think this is one of our poorest results.
I needed to speak to this, some of the concerns that is still out there, and that has formed conversation. Dr. Emeka, this goes to you. At the moment, the unemployment rate is high, quite high. And of course, if you look at inflation rates, it's gone up high, 16.92%. Of course, for May, April rather. And if you look at the forex crisis in Nigeria at the moment, we've seen the naira or the exchange rate from $190 in 2015 down to around more than 500 to 600 naira in 2022. I think these some of the issues to worry about. Do you think these issues are not something to worry about?
Well, they clearly show the failures of governance, if you may, or the failures of what you call strategic planning. Because everything you have listed is listed against employment in the public service. Is it not a paradox that you have a country that has 83 million hectares of arable land, over 44 minerals located in more than 3/3 of our local governments? There's practically no local government in Nigeria or habitation in Nigeria where you don't have one mineral resource or the other. So I think it's all about placing our priorities the wrong way. All right. Remember that even as pedestrian as agriculture is contributing over something percent, to the gross domestic product. Okay. Right. So when you now start classifying, why we have failures in our GDP, it is because we are no longer producing. So if you go back into productivity, and it's very easy to go back into productivity, all right, more so in this day and time where science plays a lot of role, science is able to support a lot of things you do. So I think it's all about us not understanding, where to, or putting not our mouths where our monies are, and then having it all, believing that government can be able to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z for us. The moment you change that narrative, remember at one time again, too, you're talking about this economy that my brother has eloquently, expressed. At the point in time, it was even growing at that 7.8%. People were foretelling. I was one of those that said they were heading towards a very major crash because there was.
Hello. Well, hello, doctor. I guess.
Not,
okay.
Supporting that growth.
Oh, okay.
Understand this narrative and understand. Okay, so it's a productivity question and question, right? We'll get back onto that back track of prosperity. So okay. Yes, it's something to worry about, but I'm more worried about those who are the economic planners and handlers not understanding where clearly we should be going to.
Okay, Doctor. Okay, good. Let me jump in quickly. Come to you, Mr. Mukhtar, now. What are some of the areas you think the country is missing it? You talked about the issue of GDP being worse, of course, especially within this administration and some of the. Where do you think, especially the current administration got it wrong? And going forward, how do you think we need to address it? What are some of the measures you think that should be in place to address it, Mr. Mukhtar? Hello, Mr. Mukhtar.
I hear you.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard me earlier.
I heard your question. I heard your question.
Okay, go ahead, please. Yeah, well, Mr. Mukhtaru, I was trying to ask you, I mean, some of the things you think or measures you think we can put in place. You mentioned the area of GDP going down and some of the things we need to do and things we're not doing. And so how do we get back to the that productive track to addressing a shortfall or the depletion in the growth of our economy? Mr. Mukhtar, if you can hear me, please give us your thought on that.
Yes, and like I was saying, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can
yes,
you hear me?
Oh, yes, you're live.
Okay, good. Like I was saying, I think we got it wrong, especially like what doctor said. We were looking at the GDP. We're not looking at other indices. Most especially, we're not looking at the bottom level. How many people have been taken out of poverty? How many jobs were being created? We're only looking at the productivity, and most of our productivity came by that time because of high oil price. Like I said, this is the first time we have high oil price and we are not feeling it in our economy. And that shows you how far down that we have gotten. Look, if you tell me how are we going to get it right, what is this administration to do? You see, we have to have a shared vision. Current administration, present administration, we've not had a shared vision on how to tackle our economic challenges, especially the one that have to deal with infrastructure. And one major infrastructure that we lack that have retarded our growth is the power sector. So we need to address that sector if we want to have growth in our economy. It's not about getting the GDP. Once you address the power sector, the productivity level of every Nigerian will come up. And then that will have a snowball effect into every life of every Nigerian. And like he said also, one area where we need to get it right and get it right on time and very fast is in the area of the current security challenges. It's beginning to look so mountainous that international investors are scared of even coming to Nigeria. So if you tell me two things we need to address the power situation, and also we need to address the security challenges. And those are not things that should be taken lightly. Those are not things that will be solved using political solutions. Those are things that can be solved using real human intelligence and also looking beyond APC or PDP, looking what is best for the interests of every Nigeria. And I think if we look at it that way, then we can say that we'll be able to solve up to 70 to 80% of our challenges if we're able to address these two key issues, power and security.
Dr. Okengu, give us your final take as we wrap up now. What lessons do you think we have learned from them, and what are those mistakes that we need to learn from going forward? Let's wrap up.
Well, the lesson is that political mantras don't translate to economic development or capacity to change the economy. Okay, we're entering into a new election cycle, so we must be very, very circumspect in who we bring, who we employ using our PVCs. That's very, very important. Okay, we must be able to interrogate clearly and concisely, what people want to do for us, how they want to do it, when they want to do it, and what support instruments and capacities they carry to be able to even to begin to do it. That would be my closing.
Your closing now, Mr. Mukhtaru, a sentence from you.
Fix the power sector, tackle insecurity, prosperity will be back to this nation.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. We've been speaking with Dr. Emeka Okengu, development economist, talking to us from Abuja, and of course, Mr. Mukhtaru here, CEO of Finance with Mukhtaru, talking to us from Lagos. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time on Business Breakfast, and of course, our special coverage of Democracy Day. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate your time once again.